بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. dhammaan daawadayaasha naga daawanaya telefishinka kalson waan idin salaamaynaa annagoo idin leh nabad iyo naxariis korkiina ha ahaato. caawa oo axad ah sidaa nooga barateen waxaan idiin soo tabinaynaa barnaamijkii gurmad toddobaadlaha ah, barnaamijkaa oo inta badan ka baxa telefishinka kalson. waxaa cawadaa nasiib u yeelanay in aan barnaamijkani ku marti qaadno walaalkeen qaaliga ah cumar malik oo ah sarkaal isagu ka tirsan ama mas-uul ka tirsan hay-adda weyn ee jaaratiga ah ee lagu magacaabo National Zakat Foundation. waxaan rajaynaynaa barnaamijka inaan kaga hadalno oo ku qaada dhigno muhiimadda ay leedahay zakaadka. yaa laga doonayaa inuu bixiyo, yay ku waajibtay oo laga doonayaa zakadaasi inuu dhibo, noocyada kala duwan, qaabkee loo bixiyaa, gaar ahaan ayaan u falanqeyn doonaa qodobadaas oo dhan. barnaamijkaa wuxuu ku bixi doonaa luqadda ingiriisiga iyadoo ay la socoto mar kasta tarjumaad xagga luqadda soomaaliga. waxaan dhammaan dadweynaha walaalaha rag iyo dumar barnaamijka la socdaa aan ka codsanaynaa inay ka qayb qaataan dhanka telefoonka wixii su-aale ah ay doonayaan soo weydiiyaan. First of all, brother Umar Malik, I welcome you to Kalson TV and I have to thank you for coming to the studio, giving your precious time and dedicating the time you would have rested for the sake of a good cause. Please welcome.
Jazakallah khair. It's a good Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi first of all to everyone.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to be here, alhamdulillah, and I really want to first express my gratitude to yourself and everyone behind the cameras and scenes here and everyone at Kalson for inviting us on and allowing us to share some stories about the importance of the work of the National Zakat Foundation.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair for that.
Thank you very much. First of all, Brother Umar, one of the main tools of Islamic social financing is zakat payment. I think there are two main types of zakat, zakatul fitr and zakatul mal. We will talk later a lot about these two types. It is generally, payment of the zakat is generally aimed to reduce inequality, and it's a way of funding domestic development. It helps state efforts to reduce poverty. Zakat in some areas is collected by in Muslim countries, some Muslim countries, zakat is collected by the state. For Muslims living in a non-Muslim world, zakat is paid by them. I think there are so many things happening which are different to one another. Our program will focus on the importance of the zakah, and I would like to put my first question across to you, and it is, what is the zakah and who is required to pay?
Okay, inshallah. First of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So a very important first question, just to get us going in terms of what is zakat and who is required to pay it. Many people have some misconceptions and misunderstandings of zakat, even of the definition. And the common kind of answer you'll get about what does zakat mean, first of all, is that it means charity or it means tax. But both of those have, you could say, negative connotations in the sense that charity is voluntary, whereas zakat obviously is not voluntary. And tax is something you'd want to avoid, really. But zakat is not something you want to avoid. Now, linguistically speaking, zakat has a few meanings, first of all. And it means, for example, blessing or to grow. Now, practically speaking, I guess the way of explaining it is that it's a, compulsory act of worship. It's the third pillar of Islam, as we know.
Yes.
And it requires us to donate or to pass on the right of the poor to them, which means that if you are owning above a certain threshold, the nisab, then you must pay 2.5% of that to the eligible recipients, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the Quran. So it basically means if you own above a certain amount of wealth, you must pay zakat. And I think what's important is something you mentioned, which is that it's more than just a poverty alleviation. It's a fully fledged system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kind of entrusted us with and asked us to implement. A fully fledged system, not just to help that poor person, but to really strengthen the Muslim community wherever they are, and
as
to
a
really
state, as an individual,
as a community, to give them honor, to give them prosperity, to give them security, to give them strength. Many of the characteristics you could say that we don't really have right now, and we're seeking these characteristics. And zakat seeks to give the Muslim community that strength, to allow this small, really small portion of your wealth, once it's combined together with those who are eligible to pay it, it can really have such transformational impact in terms of society. And the blessing and the growth definition that I mentioned, the meaning, is very important, because some people, especially now, we've become very materialistic in our lifestyles.
Definitely.
And to be frank, our hearts have become quite hard to giving charity and
There
things like that.
are a lot of emphasis on money making.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the verse that the zakat means purification and growth. So imagine if, for example, you had a plant that had some dead parts to that plant. Now, what a gardener will tell you is that you should cut those dead parts off so that the rest can grow properly, because those dead parts are stopping the growth of this plant.
Definitely.
It's exactly the same thing with our wealth, that there are some filthy parts of our wealth, essentially parts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in our wealth, which aren't really ours, they belong to someone else.
We have acquired them wrongly.
No, we've acquired them wrongly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put 2.5% of our wealth in our wealth, which is for someone else. So we have to get rid of this wealth, because for us it's filthy, for the recipient obviously it's not. But for us, hence why, for example, we'll come into some of the details, but hence why you can't give zakat to someone who is from the family of the Prophet ﷺ, because the hadith states that it's from the filth of one's wealth. So one should get rid of it. So similarly, how you have a plant and you're trying to prune the plant, to get rid of the dead parts of the plant so the rest of the plant can grow. It's the same concept of our wealth. If this remains in our wealth, if this money remains in our wealth, it pollutes our wealth, it corrupts our wealth. But only once this wealth ends up to its rightful recipients will our wealth grow.
Okay, I think that's a good point. What I would like to ask Brother Umar is that the question you answered was in relation to the topic of what is the zakah, and you clearly reminded everybody, and we keep reminding ourselves, it is one of the main the 5 pillars of Islam. Meaning shahadatu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah wa iqam as-salat wa ita zakat. Means zakah occupies an important part of our faith.
And for some reason, just to add to that, for some reason, we don't know much about zakat. Like if you compare our knowledge of salah, we know the various rulings of salah, what happens if we make a mistake, what happens if this, what happens if that. But some of the most basic zakat questions we are unaware of. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions zakat alongside salah numerous times in the Quran. Any idea how many times? Any idea?
No, just tell us that.
28 times it's mentioned alongside salah in the Quran. Zakat is only mentioned 30 or 32 times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has every single time, 28 times, He's chosen to mention it with salah. But compare our knowledge and understanding and application of our salah with our zakat. many are not paying zakat. Many are missing and miscalculating the
Is
payments
it
of
as a
zakat.
result of ignorance or a deliberate act?
I think it could be
A
bit
combination of both?
It could be a bit of both.
Yeah.
So even today I was at an event,
Mhm.
and last week I was at an event,
Mhm.
and I would say today, for example, I must have received about 25 to 30 queries, questions, situations from people who had missed zakat in the past. Maybe they thought, I'm a student, I don't need to pay zakat. Maybe they thought, I'm in university, I don't need to pay zakat. Maybe they thought, I'm not that rich, I don't need to pay zakat. Maybe they thought, I have a lot of debt, I don't need to pay zakat. Maybe they thought, maybe they weren't practicing, and when they came to start practicing
And
Islam,
you
they
found
missed
out
zakat.
those who should have paid the zakat but who haven't by meeting and talking to them. Was it workshop?
It was just a stall we had today at an event.
Yeah.
But for example, I met one lady today who had 37 years of missed zakat.
Oh my God.
37 years.
Allah, my Allah.
Now imagine the effect that's having on her spiritually and practically as well.
37 years.
37 years.
She had accumulated wealth which she was required to pay zakat out of it.
When she was young,
But
her
she-
father was paying it for her. But then when she became independent, she's never paid it since. And it could be, some people don't know much about zakat. So they don't know what you have to pay it on. They don't know the rulings when it comes to gold, silver, debts, pensions, shares, businesses, stock. So many people, after we do some workshops with them and speak to them, they realize that, hang on a second, I actually don't know much about zakat. I really need to educate myself about zakat. It's the same as if we were to, just like how we have to be educated to pray salah, so we have to know what we're doing to pray salah, we have to know the rulings when we're fasting, we have to know the rulings when we're going to hajj. Similarly with zakat,
Yeah.
we have to know the ins and outs of it so that we can make sure that this money is given to its rightful owner, because it's not only, zakat is not only a right of Allah, zakat is also a right of the poor as well. And missing zakat, this is a very a crass example. Missing zakat, let's say you were to walk along the street and you saw a homeless person, and the homeless person had a cup and with a few pounds in it, that's all.
Yeah.
And you saw someone coming along to that homeless person, and he stole the money from this homeless person. What would you think of that person?
It is sad.
It's sad, and it's the
very
it's the
sad,
worst
yeah.
person, because
Yeah.
he's not only stealing
He's
from,
taking our money from the person whom we all should help.
yeah, he's taking
Yeah.
money from someone who's got nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Missing zakat is no different.
In a very dire situation.
Yeah, but
definitely.
missing zakat is no different, because that money that you should have given should have helped that person, or should have helped someone else who was in a dire situation, but you haven't given that. So essentially,
It is just like you taking away from that beggar who is standing or sitting
Yeah, yeah.
in the street.
Yeah.
Well, I say, okay, mainly we know, Brother Umar, two types of zakat. Zakat al-fitr, a fixed amount that has to be paid by head of every household, rich and poor alike, as long as they are capable, for every member of his or her family before Eid prayers at the end of Ramadan. This is what mostly people focus on it.
Yeah.
Means if there is a husband and a wife in the family unit, the husband is required, is considered to be the household, the head of the household, and he is under obligation to pay zakah for every single person in his family. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the husband is not there, maybe died, or the union collapsed and he left, okay, the mother is the head of the household, and she is required to pay for every member of her family.
Yeah.
Okay, before the Eid prayers at the end of Ramadan, how much do we have
To pay?
to pay?
That different mosques, I think there's a hadith about the amount of handful of this or handful of that, and the equivalent monetary value of this day. But what I would say, whatever what your local masjid recommends. It could be £2, could be £3.
Yeah.
A lot of mosques are moving towards about £5 now.
Let us say my household consists of me, my wife, and 4 children. So it will be 6 individuals times 3.
Yeah.
£18 or 5.
Or 5, which is 30.
Whatever
whatever your local mosque sets, or the charity that you choose to pay to.
Let us come to, but it has to be paid before the Eid prayer.
Yeah.
What happens if the person could have paid but hasn't paid, but didn't pay at all?
I'm not sure. Of course, it's going to be a sin.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not wrong, and feel free to correct me.
Yeah.
But I remember, because our focus is zakat al-mal, but I'll comment on this anyway. I remember one imam speaking to me about this, and he was saying that there was a hadith or maybe a statement of one of the companions. I'm not sure exactly. I think it was a hadith where he was saying that your fasting remains suspended. It's hanging. It doesn't reach Allah until you've paid your zakat al-fitr.
Yeah.
So that's we don't want to be investing all of our time in worship and fasting in Ramadan and to miss out on that reward just because of not paying our zakat al-fitr.
Okay, let's come back to the second point, zakat al-mal. It can be paid any time during the year.
Yeah.
And each individual is responsible to pay her own zakat. Amount of zakat is variable according to the person's wealth. For example, if you are a millionaire, then you are more likely to pay a lot of more money. If you have, for example, you're not millionaire but you have accumulated wealth, you may also pay. Every Muslim, man or woman, child or adult, whose wealth exceeds the nisab, and who has this amount for the whole lunar year, must pay zakat on it at the rate of 2.5. This is what we generally hear. Okay, I think if a child inherited a wealth from his own father or his own debt, his own mother who died, who has a responsibility to pay on behalf of that innocent child? For example, there is an 8-year-old child who inherited millions of pounds. Who has the responsibility to pay? The mother, if she manages to live after the husband? Okay. Well, just the rate 2.5%. Can you throw some light on the zakat al-mal?
So let's break this down a little bit and step by step, I guess, take it so we can kind of fully understand it and try and simplify it as much as possible. Let's say I have no money right now, and I've not had money at all for a few years. And today I received my first paycheck, for example. Now that takes me above the nisab on that day, for example. Now I note that date down in my diary. For example, let's say it's the 1st of Muharram, Islamic date I have to note down.
Yes.
Now what I do is I note that date down in my diary, and I wait for 12 lunar months to pass, and I see on the 1st of Muharram next year, am I still above the nisab? If I'm above the nisab, then I pay 2.5%. It's as simple as that.
You mean is you have saved that money, you do not need it to use for your daily needs.
So it's whatever you have left at the end of that year. It doesn't need to be called savings or whatever, but it could be in cash, it could be in your bank account, it could be in savings account, it could be in your car, in your wallet, all of it, whatever cash you have on that day, you pay 2.5% on it. But it's not only cash. So cash is one of the personal assets that are zakatable.
It could be property.
It could be gold or silver, according to some scholars. Some of the minority of scholars say that gold and silver, even for personal use, is zakatable. The majority say that gold or silver, not for personal use, is zakatable. But if you're using it, then it's not zakatable. But if it's broken, for example, you can't use it now. So it's the same as a gold block, for example, or a gold coin or something like that. So you pay zakat on it. So that's one thing: gold, cash, silver. So what you'd have to do then is you'd have to value your gold on your zakat anniversary. So I know that, for example, I have £1,000 of cash, but I've also got this gold here, which is worth £1,000. I add that together, that's £2,000. Then, for example, any money that you have lent others
is also taken into consideration.
You have to still pay zakat on that as well. So let's say I lent you £500. I still have to pay zakat on that. So
even though that is away and not hasn't returned it to me.
Yeah, because it's still my money. The only reason when that I wouldn't pay zakat on that is if you're not answering my phone calls now and I can't find you and you've moved away and you're not answering and I've tried to
no longer
for
is your
5
money.
years. Now I can't.
You lost that money to that
person. It becomes a
person.
bad debt. So then I don't pay zakat on that.
Okay.
But if I do get that back, then some of the scholars say I pay zakat on it then, and some of the scholars say I pay zakat on it for all the years that I missed it as well.
Okay, question. If we, for example, gold, silver, wealth of various types,
Yeah.
the person has to be careful and pay zakat on what Allah gave him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Provided that this has been accumulated wealth
Yeah.
for a whole lunar year.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
Then the other thing to bear in mind then, so that's your personal assets covered. Then comes your business assets. So for example, someone might own a shop, a clothes shop. So there are some things that are zakatable within his business as well. His building won't be zakatable. His I don't know, his mannequins won't be zakatable, or his rails won't be zakatable, but all of his stock will be zakatable, and all of his cash in the business he'll have to pay zakat on. So cash in his business, but also stock. So if he's got clothes for sale, he has to work out the market value of those items. For example, let's say he's got 10 items of clothes. Each of them will sell for £100 each. That's £1,000. So he has to pay zakat on that. Let's say then he's got unfinished goods. So he's got a roll of fabric which hasn't been made into clothes yet. He will have to pay zakat on whatever he can sell that roll of fabric for. So the stock is also zakatable. So you add up all of your personal zakatable assets and your business zakatable assets, which may include as well a pension. It may include shares. Someone might own shares for resale. Someone might own a property where they're renting it out, or someone might be a car salesman and be in the.
You mentioned about students.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the program, you mentioned about the students. What about with the students who?
Students may still have money. They still, if they qualify, if they are above the nisab, then they will pay zakat on it.
But the money they have
Yeah.
is a money that they have been given to finance their education.
So then the next point comes on to debts, which is relevant for students.
Yeah.
Now, what the scholars say in terms of debts is that anything. So I've worked out my personal assets, business assets now. And what can I deduct? What can I deduct from my zakat?
Okay.
So what they say is you can deduct anything that is due upon you on your zakat anniversary. So let's say today is my zakat anniversary, and I owe.
When you say today is my zakat anniversary,
Today I have to pay
the
zakat.
year has completed.
The year has completed. I need to
Okay.
pay zakat today
And I have a wealth that has been with me for the whole year.
for the whole year.
Yeah. Whether it is gold, silver,
Whether it's gold, silver,
cash,
whatever.
or money that I have lent to others, all the things you explain it to us.
Yeah. Now, if for example today I have to pay, I've got £5,000 of wealth. But I've got £100 fine that I got last week. I haven't paid yet. Because that's due upon me now. I owe that money. I can deduct that from my zakatable before I pay zakat. For example, also I may have council tax from previous months. I can deduct that if I haven't paid it yet. I may be a businessman and I've got to pay the wages of my staff for the work month they've just worked. I can deduct that. Anything that's due upon me now, I can deduct that.
It's
from
not
my zakat.
included in the amount that is.
It's not included in yours, so you can deduct it from
Okay.
that.
So that's the mercy of Allah.
Yeah.
That's the mercy. Look a minute. You are allowed to cover your needs first, and then whatever is left is what we are coming to discuss about.
Now, when it comes to debt that you have taken from others, so I've borrowed money from someone, do I pay zakat on that or not? There are three main rules when it comes to this debt. One is that if I borrowed £1,000 from you and I'm not going to pay it back this year, and not one penny I'm going to pay back this year, I have to pay zakat on that. Yeah. But if I'm going to pay everything back this coming year, I can deduct it all. But if I'm going to pay £10 a month or installments, if it's a long-term debt, then I can deduct if I need to, if it's going to be difficult for me, if I'm going to be put in a difficult situation by not deducting it, I can deduct 12 lunar months worth. So let's say I'm paying £10 a month for the next 12 months. I can deduct £120 from my total zakat. So but the thing is that we've discussed quite a lot of things so far, but the majority of people are unaware of these rules.
Okay, and some people, I think some people, maybe they are not willing to pay the zakah. There is a reluctance or deliberate act of omitting the amount of zakat payable. Can we say sometimes, because since childhood we were been hearing about the pillars of our faith, and everybody knows that these two types of zakat that are payable. But I think when person acquires wealth, also there is a natural inclination to get more and to give out less. That is what most people experience. The more person gets, the more he wants to have wealth.
So there's no problem with wealth. Even the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were of the richest of people. But it's when that wealth enters your heart. So someone could be a millionaire, but his wealth is not in his heart. That's fine. Someone could be very poor, but wealth is in his heart. That's where the problem comes. And we know that, like some of the first questions we'll be asked on the Day of Judgment is our wealth, how we earned it and how we spent it.
How every penny comes into your bucket, and how did you spend? I think what is the most important thing I would like to ask you is that in Muslim countries, zakat is collected by the state. But in countries like the West or non-Muslim world, nobody collects the zakat, and it is up to the individual to decide the fate of his zakat. So National Zakat Foundation is a mechanism that has been created in 2011 to uphold the pillar of zakat in the United Kingdom. And a lot of people are grateful of the great work you and your colleagues have been doing across this country. I think, what can you tell us about the work which you have been doing for the Ummah since the National Zakat Foundation was created and launched in 2011?
So it's been 5 years now, alhamdulillah, and I can say that alhamdulillah a lot has been achieved. National Zakat Foundation is of course a registered charity, a UK-based charity, but it's more than just a charity, because it exists not just to raise funds or fundraise or anything. No, it exists to do our best to serve the pillar of zakat, because for us we see that for some reason the pillar of zakat is being neglected, both in its education and its application, and something needed to be done about that. Because if you look even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, after his death, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he faced a challenge, he faced a problem, one big problem of people who refused to pay zakat. And we know the response that he took. Even his companion Umar ibn Khattab was like unsure about this response that Abu Bakr has taken. He was just surprised, he was worried. But he realized, Abu Bakr, that once the pillars of Islam start to crack, once the pillars of Islam start to be neglected, then that's the start of the community starting to crumble. Because Islam is built upon these 5 pillars. If these pillars aren't strong, then no community can be built upon that. And how is it, he thought, that someone in his own community who might be eligible to receive zakat could go in need under his watch, could continue in need under his watch? And he knew the spiritual implications of not paying zakat. And he knew that zakat is a pillar of Islam, probably the only pillar of Islam, that has some impact into our dunya. The other pillars of Islam are between you and Allah. But zakat, as we mentioned at the beginning, is a system here. It has a link between you and Allah because it's a right of Allah. But it's a system that we mentioned to strengthen the Muslims and to give them security and to give them prosperity. If this system is not there, then we'll be facing many problems. He understood the importance of this problem. We have to see the crisis that we have right now as well when it comes to the pillar of zakat. Because there's 2 big crises. One crisis is that the amount of zakat that should be being paid this year is not going to be paid. That's a crisis, that people who are obliged to be paying their zakat this year are not going to be paying it, for whatever reason. It's a big problem.
Whether it is greed, whether it is ignorance,
for whatever reason.
Deliberate act.
Yeah, for whatever reason. We can safely say that it won't be paid. Now something needs to be done about that. Something needs to be done about that.
What do you think it should be done?
Education.
How?
Throughout the communities, as much as we can. Even if we were to, before the National Zakat Foundation, I used to do some work with regards to zakat for another organisation, and what we would find is that no one really talks about zakat. Even amongst our imams and amongst our masajid, there's not many lectures about zakat, and there's not much education work happening about zakat. Such that if I was to ask a 5-year-old what is zakat, and I was to ask a 30-year-old what was zakat, they'll tell me the same thing. They'll tell me it's the 3rd pillar of Islam and it's 2.5%. But what about all the things we've been discussing? So for us, with regards to this problem about education, the National Zakat Foundation exists to ensure and to try and aim for every pound of zakat that should be being paid, for it to be paid, regardless of who it's being paid to, but just to ensure that this zakat is being paid. So the way we work with that is we have a variety of services for a zakat payer. So for us, the zakat payer is not a donor. We're not fundraising. We're providing someone with a service to make sure they're paying their zakat correctly. That could be our hotline that they can call into. That could be our website they can visit with the videos and the Q&As and everything that's on there. That could be the missed zakat resources that we have for someone who's missed their zakat. That could be our zakat guide that we have. That could be workshops that we have. We've booked 70 workshops already in Ramadan, this coming Ramadan. 70?
In London?
Around the country. About 35, 40 already in London.
And you are dispatching armies to different areas. Okay.
But so it's just to ensure that people are educated.
Okay.
Now the second problem that we face, the second
reward for that,
but the second crisis that we face is that there are eligible people in the UK, eligible people in the UK who have a right to receive zakat, who fall below the nisab, and therefore it is their right to receive zakat.
So are you saying that the National Zakat Foundation has identified considerable number of people in this country that need to be helped? So the National Zakat Foundation, we've adapted to now focus on the services for zakat payers, the education side. But we started off because of stories that we used to hear of sisters, mainly sisters, in dire situations of need. Like crazy mothers, everything that, like stories we can't comprehend. I can't even give us an example, just stories without mentioning the person's name.
Just stories of sisters selling their bodies.
Subhanallah.
Sisters going into this, going into that.
In order to earn money.
In order to earn money. And one of the stories that really kind of pushed us to sort something out, to set this up, was one sister who was going through certain issues, and eventually a few months later we heard she committed suicide.
And she was Muslim.
She was Muslim. And we were thinking, if there was some sort of official organization, some sort of institution
that reaches out to her,
would she have been in that situation? Would it have led to that? So it started off with, for us to set up women's shelter. So we now have 3 women's shelters around the UK that have supported over 150 women.
Women shelters that exist.
Women's shelters, one in London, one in Birmingham and one in Manchester, that are there to provide a support service, an emotional and spiritual support for sisters in need, whether it's new Muslims, whether it's asylum seekers, whether it's domestic violence cases.
So what the need is, accommodation needs?
Accommodation needs,
food, clothing,
medicine, emotional needs,
okay.
Kind of counselling needs, everything.
So how many shelters are you
We've got
created?
3 women's shelters, and we've now opened a couple of years ago a Muslim male ex-offenders shelter. So some people, Muslims who are coming out of prison,
who has nowhere to go,
nothing, who their family
and then go back to the
Exactly.
circle of crime again.
Yeah.
So have you created that one?
So we've got a shelter in London that takes out certain Muslims that are showing signs of that they want to make a change. It will take them and it will house them for typically 3 to 4 months, give them the support they need, give them the employment support they need, and get them in a job at the end of it as well.
And the population of these shelters, how many?
In total, I think around 60 beds in the country.
60 bed.
So they are small, but that's one area where we use our zakat.
It's a step forward, yeah.
Yeah.
The numbers
So-
would go up, definitely.
Yeah, so the important thing to remember is that any zakat that we have, any zakat that's entrusted to us is redistributed in the
Thank you
UK.
very much for the good cause. walaalayaal khadka telefoonka waxaan rajaynaynaa inaad nagala qayb qaadataan waxaa barnaamijka caawa noogu casuman walaalkeen cumar malik oo ah sarkaal ka tirsan hay-adda weyn ee National Zakat Foundation oo sidaa maqlaysaan waxyaabo badan wacyigelin iyo qaybin sadaqooyinka iyo zakaadka iyo aruurin intaba iyadu gacanta ku haysa waddankana meelo badan sidaa maqlaysaan hadaladii ugu dambeeyey xataa waxay abuureen maaragtay shelters meelo guryo markaasi dadka dhibaataysan lagu hayo oo lagu xanaaneeyo iyagoo siinaya dadkaasi maaragtay qaarkood waxa uu noo sheegay in xataa la sameeyey male shelter oo dadka ka soo baxaya jeelasha oo meel ay aadaan iyagoo haysan London dhexdeeda markaa lagu haynayo ilaahay waxaan ka rajaynaynaa inay ay sii fidaan ay weynaadaan. Okay, walaalayaal waa nagala qayb qaadan kartaan xagga telefoonka khadka wixii aad doonaysaan ra'yigiina amba su'aalaha qabtaan. Okay, brother Umar, we just since the National Zakat Foundation was launched, how much help have you given to those of poor, who are poor and needy?
Yeah. So when we have zakat that's paid to us, like I said, it's redistributed within the UK, either to a shelter or to a hardship grant. So for example, someone may be in a difficult situation. They may be an asylum seeker, they may be suffering from fuel poverty, they may just find it hard to make ends meet.
Unable to pay the bills.
Yeah, unable to pay the bills, and they may be eligible for zakat. So they may get, either they will call us up or they will be referred to us. So someone might go to their hospital or their GP or their job centre or local charities or the social services. All of these different organisations refer cases to us. Every month we now get about 200 referrals every single month.
And who makes the referrals? Job centres even?
Job centres, social services, mainstream charities, hospitals, prison, they come from everywhere. And once the case comes to us, then we have a team of 8 qualified expert caseworkers
who assess
their case to first find out if this person is zakat eligible, but then to find out how can we target this zakat money to their case so that it has the most transformational impact. And in total, just to give you an idea of numbers of people we've supported, we've received over 4,000 applications in the past 4 years.
4,000 applications.
And we've distributed now more than £3.5 million of zakat.
More than 3 million.
3.5 million pounds.
3.5 million pounds
of zakat.
Of zakat.
Every single month, on average, around about 120,000 pounds of zakat goes out.
MashaAllah.
And every single day now, we're getting up to maybe 3 to 5 emergency cases.
Okay. Well, so do khadka telefonka.
ودوهي السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ما عاوي ماشي كسر لي سؤال
waxaan magacayga Maryam baa la dhaxalan baa ka soo hadlaya waa fahmay hay'adda islaamiga waxa ay qabato marka waxaan rabay caawa waxa u fadhiyaan TV-ga ma tanbay muslimka weydiisanayaan mase waxa uu qabto dadka u sharaxaya wadaadku
walaal sida la socota fan ugu fadhiyo waxa hawladiisii ka mid ahaay waxaan qaybinaa macnaha 3 milyan iyo bar ayaan siinay dad iyagu baahan gargaar macnaha u baahan wadankan dhexdiisa sanadihii hadda 3 sanana soo dhaaftay waxa kale oo jira ilaa 100 to 120 you mentioned about the number of people frequent help you give 100
every month.
Yeah.
So every month we get up to 200 referrals.
ilaa 200 oo qof ayaa loo soo gudbiyaa waxaa usoo gudbiya jeelasha prison serviceka waxaa soo gudbiya job centerada waxaa usoo gudbiya social serviceska ayaa hay-ad bay yidhaahda dadkaa gargaara marka waa waxqabadkoodii iyo wacyigelin walaal waxaa jira galabtadan wuxuu la kulmay haweeney iyo ilaahay ku manaystay khayr oo 37 sano macnaha rani ah 37 sano aan wax zakaada maalkeedii ka dhibin marka dadkay wacyigeliyaan halkana uma fadhino wax fundraising ah laakiin waa barnaamijkii gurmad oo lagu soo qaado wixii dan waa ummadda telefoonka khadka ku soo dhawo walaal soo dhawo khadka telefoonka
السلام عليكم.
walaal
السلام عليكم.
calaykum assalaam waraxmat ullah
walaalo waxaa ka hadlaysiin xoogaa yar ma noo faahfaahin kartaa ma uu iga horeysay
walaal waxay tahay waxaa nala joogaa walaalkeen cumar maali oo ah mas-uul ka tirsan hay-adda la yidhaah national zakat foundation waa charity la aasaasay 2011 2011 ha ayaa la aasaasay waxayna ay gargaartaa dadka iyagu ku nool dalkan ee u baahan sadaqada ay ku kacdo in sadaqa la siiyo waxaa sida inoo sheegay ay qaybiyeen lacag 3 milyan iyo bara 3 milyanka iyo barkaana waxay siiyeen dad maaragtay markaas u dhibaataysan waxaa bil kasta noo yimaada ayuu yidhi ilaa 200 oo referral dad la soo gudbiyo ayaa bil kasta naloo soo gudbiyaa waxaana soo gudbiya jeelasha waxa soo gudbiya social serviceska waxa soo gudbiya job centerada dad ayagu markaa gargaar u baahan marka waa hay-ad maaragtay khayri ah gaar ahaanna shaqadeedu tahay in muslimka ay wacyi geliso waxa ku waajibka u sheegto wixii dadkii wax u baahanna ay gaarsiiso dadka zakada ay ku kacdo
marka qofka wax dhiibi kara iyo inuu soo diramiya
maya walaal waxay tahay hawsha ay qabtaan way kuu sheegeen waxa waaye ayagu meeshan uma fadhiyaan wax lacaga waa serviceska ay qabtaan waxa ummadda wacyi geliyaan dad badana waxaa jira ilaahay ku manaystay maaragtay maaliyad oo ayagu aan bixinba zakaatulmaalna aan bixin kuwa aan zakaatulfitri bixin midda kale dadka laftigoodu ma oga gargaarkay diyaarka u ah masalan hay-addani haddaad la xiriirto oo runtii aad macnaha ma qofku uu la xiriiriyo wuxu u baahan yahay way caawisaa okay just they wanted a little bit explanation of
That's fine, inshallah.
so let's coming back to the work National Zakat Foundation has been doing. I think to distribute 3.5 million for a short period of time is a hard work. Okay. You normally receive a referral,
Yeah.
and you have a team of experienced assessors
Yeah.
who assess specific applications,
Yeah.
and then decision is reached
Yeah.
whether to help or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I think That's it.
I think it's good to give a couple of cases so people understand
Yes,
the
please.
kind of cases that we get. So I'll give you one that happened just 2 or 3 days ago, where someone phoned us and said, I have 2 homeless people right in front of me, Muslims. I think they were Sudanese. They were in a park in Whitechapel. So he phoned us and said, they're right in front of me, what can we do? So this was an emergency case for us because they're not got a long-term need, they've got a very short-term immediate need.
They have no roof over their
No
head.
roof over their head. So the immediate thing we had to do is find them a B&B, some little hotel to stay in, and give them some food, etc., so that the wound can be patched, so that the dust can settle, so that like the immediate needs are taken care of, and we can now assess their long-term situation to come up with a long-term solution. But I think it's important to know what their story was. Why are they on the street? Because people will say, but this country gives you benefits, it gives you houses, etc. Now this specific case was someone that was an asylum seeker whose application was successful. So 2 weeks ago, their application was successful. Yeah, so they've now got refugee status. But what happens when you get refugee status? The accommodation that the government is giving you for asylum seekers, you now get an eviction notice.
Yeah.
So you have to leave your...
You have to go and find your own way.
Because now you can get benefits, you can work, and you can do whatever you want. So, but it's very hard for someone who can't speak the language, don't know the system, don't know the culture. It's very hard.
So you operate just like authorities. You have received emergency request for assistance, and you accommodated these 2 brothers from Sudan in a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, but we work within the system to first see if there's a solution within the system. If not, because this is a gap where they can apply for benefits, but it will be 6 weeks before they get their benefits. So what happens in between those 6 weeks?
Okay. qof baa khadka ku jira walal soo dhawow.
hawa
walal. walal su-aashaada soo gudbi. soo dhawow walal khadka telefoonka ku soo dhawow.
walaadka raba inaan su-aal weydiiyo.
haya walal.
hadli karaa luqadu fahmayo.
luqada ingiriisiga toosaa weydiin kartaa walal.
Yeah, I want to know, and I understand what he said and how they help the people, but I want to ask where they can get the funding.
maxaa tiri walal.
Where they can get the money they give the people, I said. Funding, where they can get the fund.
Okay.
Where do we get the money?
Yeah. Where do you get the money that you are giving to the people?
So people donate their zakat to us, or people entrust us with their zakat.
Yes.
So it's as simple as that.
Yeah, definitely. Dadka khayr doonka ahaa u dhiiba. Soo dhawo walal.
assalaamu calaykum.
Calaykum assalaam walal.
walaal magacayga bostaya la yidhaahdaa barkaan ba kala soo hadlayaa.
walal soo dhawo bostay baa tiri. bostay walal habeen wanaagsan soo dhawo.
walal waa dhawaay magacaaga uu ii gooyay laakiin dhowr jeer baa barnaamij aan wadadaan siisaday khayrkaaga iyo sida dadka ugu gurmata soomaalida ay dadka dhibaataysan waa tisa ka lahay khayr. waa
sahal waa walal magacayga.
magacaaga hadda waa ii gooyeen.
sahal.
sahal dhowr jeer baan ku arkay dad dhibaataysan iyo dad caruur laga qaatay iyo dad u gurmanaysa khayr allah ku siiyo.
amiin dhammaanteen walaalada qof wanaagsan oo khayrka qofkii sheega asba khayr buu oo ka samaysan yahay. haya walal.
walaal maxay tahay safarkii dhawata ayaa soomaaliya tegay runtii waxaa soo arkay dad badan oo dhibaataysan oo kala dardaran clip baa kasoo duubmay yani qofkii wax kusoo daqaysan kara iyo qofkii wax gaarsiin kara intii baa kuleetaba baahidooda aad u ballaaran tahay khaasatan nin oo weyn oo adu konton jir ah oo maxay tahay madfactuu ku dhacay afka qaybtaas hore oo dhan ebar ah oo markii wax la laqsinhayo diiba allah ka dhigay jeega la soo xirhayo waxay helaan caruurna aan lahayn waxa hooyadiis oo adiga 90 meelaha jirta kaliya ayaa kargaraysa aniga caruurtayda waa tabakeeyay baa kasoo duubnay runtii yani baahi weyn ayuu ninkaasi qabaa hadda kahor waxaa laga sheegay lacag badan intii loo aruuriyo nairobi la geeyey waxba loo soo waayay cilidkaan ilaahay qofka uu siiyey marka ninkaas dhibkiisa ayaa rabay inaan usoo gudbiyo halkaas hadduu qolo wax kala qaban kara telefon yani clipkaadna haddaad isiisid email ama meelaa kugu soo diro kusoo gudbiyo walaalo.
waxaa la soo xiriiraysaa stuudiyaha insha allahu su-aashaadana u gudbinaya. The sister is calling from Birmingham. And she said, I've been touched by a story of a man, a 50-year-old man who got a gunshot wound back home in Somalia. This man is carried by his 90-year-old mother. Okay, I think she said she had the clip. He is in dire need of help. And as you know, in Somalia, the civil war devastated the country. We are not yet back on our feet. A lot of things are happening still. So even though National Zakat Foundation is confined to United Kingdom, the sister would like to know how can those people in remote areas can be helped.
Remote areas
in Somalia, she has been touched by a man with gunshot wounds who is looked after by his 90-year-old mother. So it's a bit emotional story.
Yeah, of course. There are many emotional stories we hear abroad.
Definitely.
So I can say there's, I guess, two parts to this answer. One is that there are many international relief charities that Muslims have set up.
Yes.
I can probably name 10, 15 off the top of my head.
Definitely international relief charities.
They all focus on the need abroad, which is very important. National Zakat Foundation's focus is solely on the UK. Now, why is that? First of all, when it comes to zakat, I'm not saying to everyone that I want everyone to donate their zakat to National Zakat Foundation. I'm not saying that. We might have family members who have a right to receive that. They may be here, they may be back home. They have a right to receive that. There may be a disaster happening in Somalia, in Palestine, in Syria, wherever. They may have a right to that. But we can't also forget the right that people on our doorstep have over us. So it's important.
First, you have to help the members of your own community in your area, and then you can reach out. But this particular emotional story, what is your response to the sister who called it from Birmingham?
My response is, first of all, dua is a powerful weapon that we don't utilize enough.
Definitely, and other organizations that we might just get in touch with and highlight. So individuals who are willing to support their brothers.
Yeah, so there could be other, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say names.
Definitely.
So there could be Islamic Relief, Muslim Aid, Muslim Hands, Ummah Welfare Trust, African Development Trust. There's many different charities that work in all of these countries. So maybe their representatives could help someone like this if they were to get in contact with them, because a lot of these international relief charities have people on the ground in different areas. So it may be that someone, an organization like that, is better placed to help out in this situation.
Better equipped to help the brother. Okay.
walaal
boostaya waxaan rajaynaynaa maaragtay in aad macnaha organizationada uu sheegay walaalku aan la xiriirno. Finally, I would like to say to you we are running short of time. Qof baa khadka ku jira. So do
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Brother, welcome here.
I just wanted to ask a question.
Sister, welcome here.
Does the National Zakat Foundation, does it help the non-Muslims in any way?
Okay. So when it comes to non-Muslims, the traditional opinion is that zakat is only for Muslims. So all of our zakat goes to Muslim cases. But that doesn't mean that if a non-Muslim comes to us or gets referred to us, we won't try and help him either from non-zakat funds or to maybe direct him to another charity or another organization that will are better placed to help.
That's the answer. Means zakah is paid to Muslims, but if a non-Muslim is referred to the organization would help. Well, that's the point. I think finally, what is your message to thousands of brothers and sisters who are watching this program and listening to you? The month of Ramadan is approaching, and what is your message across to them?
My message is just simple, that we really have to try and up our game when it comes to our zakat. As you mentioned, Ramadan is coming, and that's most of the time people pay their zakat in Ramadan.
Yeah.
So we really need to try and up our level of zakat such that we are honouring this pillar and ensuring that we are properly paying this pillar first of all, and also honouring the rights of those who are eligible to receive this zakat. So if anyone, whether it's a masjid, whether it's a community centre, whether it's a sister circle, if they want to get in contact with us, or individual, to hold a zakat workshop or to answer zakat queries, we're here to help any time of the day, inshallah.
Okay. walaal saa maqlaysaan waxa uu walaalkeen cumar leeyahay zakaat workshop meel kastood joogtaan, haddii aad tihiin masjid ama markas islaamiya amba dad iyagu markaasi is abaabule isu tegay, waan idiin imaanaynaa. waxaan idin siinaynaa workshops, wacyigelin, maaragtay barnaamijyo in laisku wacyigeliyo zakada, qofkay ku waajibtay, qofka bixinaya, waxaasoo dhan ayuu diyaar idin leeyahay. marka la soo xiriiray stuudiyaha insha allahu. waxaan rajaynaynaa organizationkani in markaa t v-ga aad ka heli doontaan hadda wixii ka dambeeya ilaa hadduu idmo macluumaadkeeda. Just brother, final question means you and I chatted over the people National Zakat Foundation has helped in the past, and there were fewer Somalis were relatively fewer. Is it because they do not know the National Zakat Foundation services available to them, or are they shy to come out and ask for help when they really need? What is the main reason?
I think it could be both, because I'll give you one example of someone who's shy, because we have honor. We don't want to go to our brothers with our problems. So I was in my local masjid. One of the brothers, he was going through a divorce, and during this time of his divorce, when he was leaving after Isha prayer, he would say he's going home for 3-4 months. But we found out afterwards that he was actually going and parking his van somewhere and sleeping in his van for 4 months in winter. We had no idea, because he didn't want to ask us for help.
And it's too cold to be there.
And it's too cold to be there, and he had the right for help. So the shyness issue is there, and secondly, the issue is there that people might not know about services, because there's some statistics from the census which are quite surprising. One statistic shows that 48% of Muslims, which is nearly 1.5–2 million Muslims, live in the 10% poorest areas of the UK. So that's a lot of Muslims that could be eligible for our support. And another statistic which is even more surprising is that 145,000 Muslims live in either emergency accommodation or temporary hostels. That means that if your masjid, for example, holds 1,000 people on Jummah, 50 people are living in that situation that could be eligible for support. I have no doubt that there are tens, 20, 30, 40, 100,000 Muslims, even maybe just in London, that are eligible to receive zakat. And if people knew about our services, we'd have queues of people outside our office.
So from tonight, we would like to pass the message that
of course
National Zakat Foundation is out there,
is there to help
people. And if you have difficulties in paying your bills, if you are to be evicted from your house because you have a rent arrears and you have been taken to courts and nobody is going to help you, and if you have an inability to buy what is the basic necessities for your children and yourself, please get in touch with National Zakat Foundation and they will definitely help you. waxaan soo gaarnay barnaamijka gabagabadiisii, waqtiga ayaa naga dhamaaday. waxaan ilaahay kaga rajaynaynaa khayr iyo barwaaqo. waxaan rajaynaynaa barnaamijka inaad ka faa'iidaysateen. waa lagu celin doonaa YouTube-kana waa gelinaynaa. Brother Omar Malik, thank you very much for coming to Kalson TV.
I just want to end with one point,
yes,
on a positive note.
Yeah.
One woman who was the first resident of our women's shelter, so she was someone who's in need. 2 years later, after our support that we gave her, she made the donation of £800 of zakat. £800 of zakat. That shows the transformational impact that zakat should have.
She needed help. She was given the help she needed. When she became independent, she paid back.
Exactly.
And even more.
And even more.
I thank you again for coming to the TV. It has been great to have you
Alhamdulillah.
in this show. Thank you very much. وأنا أحد الجيرنا خير برواقه النبت قليو يا أمان الله أمان رسول